What's up, guys? Welcome back. So it's been a few days. Holidays are pretty hectic, but we're going to be doing the install on the ditch lights today. I'm going to show you how I got it done. I've had a lot of requests for these things. These are the 3-inch pod lights by LASFIT. They are the HP series, which is a 36 watt. Super bright. They're the flood pattern, which we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through the install. But I'm going to show you what brackets I used, how I ran the wiring, and all that good stuff. So let's get into it. So before we get into running the wiring, all that good stuff, let me just show you real quick the mounts that I used. I got these things off Amazon. I didn't know if they were going to work or not, but they actually worked out perfect. They're $17 versus some of the other mounts on the market right now that are crazy expensive for what they are. You cannot go wrong with these. You're going to get an up-close look at how they fit on our Tundras. They work out perfectly, and I actually prefer these over the more expensive ones on the market because they're much more low profile, and I love the way they sit on the truck. Again, we'll give you a little bit closer of a look at that, but I just wanted to give you a kind of an idea of the mount. Links will be below the video for the mounts and our lights. If you guys don't know, LASFIT is a channel partner with us. We do have a discount code. I'll put it right there on your screen for you. Feel free to use that. It'll save you 10% off your order. But again, LASFIT 3-inch pods, HP series, super bright. All right, so let me show you how we mount these things to the truck, and then we'll get into the wiring. To mount the lights, I'm only going to show you the driver's side because the passenger side is going to mount the exact same way. I will show you how I ran the wiring across, but mounting is going to be identical. So where we're going to put the bracket on the truck, if you look down here, this piece right here that's between the hood and the panel, it's just a plasticky rubber piece that'll actually just pop out of position. Okay, it's only held in by a couple spots that, you know, just kind of help you line it up. Don't pay attention to that notch. I made that notch. That's not going to be there when you take yours out. I'll show you that in a little bit better detail in a second. This bolt right here, you can't miss it. Once you pop that panel off, that's where we're going to attach our mounting bracket. Okay, so all we're going to do is take a 10 millimeter, remove this bolt. Then we take our bracket, and when you look at this, you're gonna have options as far as how you wanna mount this on the truck. I'm gonna show you what I did just because of angles and things like that. Clearance when you pop the hood, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. When you look at the bracket, you can see the flat part right there, and then one leg is longer than the other leg, okay? The way I have it is the smaller leg is down, and this flat part is facing in towards the inner part of the hood. Reason being is when I put this down and mount it right here, there's no clearance issues whatsoever. It's not anywhere near a painted surface here. The hood comes up with plenty of room. Don't have to worry about anything hitting at all. Again, you can flip it around and mount it with the flat part facing out, but just be very careful because you don't have a whole lot of room right there. I would just recommend, if you go with these brackets, I would just recommend doing it how I'm showing you, because again, I've actually been running these lights for over a month now with no issues at all, no clearance issues at all. So again, smaller leg down, flat part facing towards the inside of the hood. We're just going to take that 10 millimeter bolt that we removed, put it back in place, and tighten this down. All right, so once you have this tightened down with that 10 millimeter bolt, the way I have mine positioned, because you are able to angle this bracket in different ways, you know, before you tighten that 10 millimeter bolt, it'll spin. The way I have mine tightened down is this flat top part is facing perpendicular, it's facing me, it's perpendicular to the truck. All right, just to give you an idea, but you can go ahead and play with that. There's really no right or wrong there. That's not going to affect the rest of the install much at all. Now, in order to put this black plastic rubbery piece back on the truck, this is why we have to notch out that little area right there, okay? So when you go to put it back on, obviously that notched out area has to go around the bracket, okay? So I'll give you a little bit of a close-up look at where I notched mine out, just to give you an idea, but yours might vary slightly depending on how you have your bracket angled. So in order to get this piece back on the truck, all you're gonna do, take your light and your bracket and make sure the cord and the bracket are in that notch, and then these two pins on the bottom of this piece go in these two holes down here. If you line up those two spots first, it's much easier to get this piece back on. I don't know if you heard that little snap back in. Once those two go in, the rest of it just kind of lines up perfectly. Tuck it back into its spot here, and you're good to go. Again, if you do those bottom two pins first, you really can't mess this part up. It goes back on that easily. Okay, and now all we're gonna do is take nut and bolt from the lights, And we're gonna go down through the hole on the light, mount it to our bracket right there. We'll get the nut started and get these tightened down. Before we get into the wiring, here's a look at how they sit on the truck. Again, they're very low profile, which is what I like. They're more low profile than the other mounts on the market that cost way more than these. For 17 bucks, you can't go wrong for these things. Again, I'll have the link down below for you, but you can see how they sit. Once you tighten that bolt up that hold the pods to the bracket, before you tighten that completely, this is something, you know, obviously it's kind of personal preference. You can clearly turn the pod if you want it facing more away from the truck, or, you know, when you're behind the wheel, however you want that beam pattern to spread. You know, you can adjust these things. You know, obviously this nut or this bolt right here, if you loosen that, I think I have it loose enough where I could show you, but you could angle them up, angle them down, however you want them. At the end of this video, I will give you a look at how, you know, how they look from the driver's seat. You know, we'll show you the light output on them with the headlights, with the TRD Pro light bar by themselves. We'll give you a look at all that at nighttime at the end of the video. So just wanted to give you a quick look at how they sit on the truck. It's a nice clean install, and these brackets work perfectly. Can't beat them for 17 bucks. Here's a look at the passenger side with the hood popped all the way open, just to give you an idea of the clearance. As I mentioned earlier, no issues with any rubbing or hitting on any kind of painted surface, okay? And bracket is the same thing. The shorter arm is down, the flat part is on the inside of the hood. All right, you can see how it sits there. Let's take a look at the wiring and we will wrap this up. Starting on the passenger side, all you're going to do is, you can see your wires coming off the back of the light. You're going to feed it down through that cutout that we make in these plastic parts from the truck. And when you have that plastic part out, you'll be able to see this channel that I'm going to show you. You can see this is our wiring right here, our positive and our negative. We just have it in wire loom to protect it. But you can look back in there. If you look, let me get this in this, there we go, a little bit better look for you. So if you look at your hood hinge right here on the passenger side, I have it ran on the inside of that hinge. Check your clearances, of course, but this is what worked for me. I checked multiple times, and again, I've been running these lights for well over a month, probably closer to 2 months now. But you can see how it feeds down through. There's a channel right in here that you can feed the black and the red coming down. All right, so we just took the black and the red, positive, negative, from the passenger side light, again, in wire loom, and just ran it across the back of the engine bay, zip tying to existing wiring. Now you can tuck it up underneath here if you want. I may actually do that. This was just kind of easy and convenient. And again, with it being in wire loom, it does look, it's a nice, neat install. I might try to hide it a little bit better, but it looks good for now. So we just ran it across the top of the back of the engine bay in the wire loom all the way over to the driver's side. Let's go over there and I'll show you what we did. Okay, so here is the positive and negative, black and red, coming over from the passenger side light. Now on the driver's side pod, you're going to do the same thing. Take your wiring coming off the back of the light, feed it down through the cutout that we made there. But on this side, what I did was, I'm actually on the outside of the hood hinge here. Again, do whatever works for you. Check your clearances. The reason I did it on the outside of the hinge over here is because on this side, I fed it down through. You can see here's the wire loom right there. There's a channel that you can feed it down through in here, and I'll show you where it pops out. Hopefully we can get you a look. So right here, there's a channel. You're not going to be able to see the channel, obviously, but you can see how it runs from here, pops out down there. So we have the black and the red from the driver's side light right here, black and the red from the passenger side light. All we did to connect them was we took the red from each light, so the red from the passenger side, red from the driver's side, twisted them together, put it in one side of a weatherproof butt connector. Out the other side of that weatherproof butt connector, we have a single red wire. I used 14 gauge, and where that wire goes is down. You're going to feed that down through that grommet back down in there to the inside of the truck. Okay, so I'm not sure. You can see I have 3 different wires coming through there from all different projects we've done. But you're just going to feed your positive in through that grommet. That'll get us inside the truck, and I'll show you where we go from there. The negative, so the black from the passenger side and the black from the driver side, same thing, twist them together, put it in one side of a weatherproof butt connector. Out the other side, you don't have to run that wire through the firewall. You could actually ground it right down to that bolt, or right there. That's a grounding point. You could actually see, I just put a ring terminal, that wire right there. Sorry, I'm trying to do this one-handed, but that's the negative coming out the other end of my butt connector for both ditch lights. So I just put a ring terminal on it, unscrewed that bolt, put the ring terminal in, put the bolt back on, and you're grounded right there. So you only have to run one wire, the positive or the red, through that grommet down there into the inside of the truck. So one other thing you can see that I did, just again to protect this wiring, make it as weatherproof as possible, not only did we use wire loom on all the exposed wiring, but over our butt connectors we used the heat shrink tubing that has that adhesive inside, so that connection is never going to come undone. Completely weatherproof, waterproof, never have to worry about it. So that's what you're looking at right there. We just used that. I'll put links to all this stuff down below the video, like I usually do for you guys, what exactly I used. I get all my stuff off Amazon for this kind of work, so I'll put direct links down there for you. Check them out if you want, but just make sure your connections are nice and secure, nice and protected from any kind of weather or water, and you're good to go. When you pop that red wire through that grommet, you're going to see the grommet is going to be up underneath your dash, up underneath there. You can see where those wires are coming down. I don't know if you can see the grommet itself, but it's up there. All I've done so far is just remove the floor mat and the kick panel, and then the door sill panel right here. They just pop up. This panel is only held in by clips. Just get a finger underneath it, pop it straight up. The kick panel that goes right here, it's held in by a couple clips, but the only other thing you have to do is this little bolt or little screw nut, not bolt, I don't even know what you want to call it. It's not even really a nut, but you'll just have to reach up. It's in that location there when it's in the truck. You'll just have to reach up and unscrew it. All right, and then this, again, there's a couple clips on the back as well. You can see right there the white clips, but it'll just pop right off. All right, so the red wire is going to run down. Just follow existing wiring. You can never go wrong by doing that. That way it's protected, you know, away from anything moving. We're going to tuck it back up underneath there. Use whatever you have, just nothing sharp, because there's a lot of wiring underneath there. I have multiple different types of, you know, wire feeders, wire fish, whatever you want to call them. But just feed the wiring back through there. And then same thing, it'll pop out right here. We're just following existing wiring. And we have it fed up underneath this panel here, because in the hybrids, batteries underneath the rear seat. So the red comes up through here, around, and again, because we're using the rough country switch panel, just take the cover off real quick. It's the only thing we actually have connected to our switch panel right now, but we ran it to this location right here. And that's going to coincide with the switch I'll show you on the switch panel itself. So usually you would have a positive and a negative ran to this location. Like this is the positive where you can see that red wire right there. The negative would usually go into the screw, and there it's labeled on the front. I don't know if you can see it, but it'll say like positive, negative, whatever. But because we grounded it, the negative is up underneath the hood. That's why we only had to run the positive back here. All right, so that's how you're going to run it to the switch panel if you're using anything like this. Let's give you a look at the switch panel itself, and then we'll wrap the video up. We'll take the truck outside, give you a look at the light output and how bright these pods are. Okay, here is what we're using for a switch panel as far as all of our accessories are going to go. Our ditch lights, we're going to add a light bar, we're going to have reverse pods on the back of the truck. I highly recommend something like this, and I love this rough country option. There's plenty of options on the market. Some are crazy expensive, honestly, in my opinion, way overpriced. And then there are some that are actually less expensive than this. But rough country, price-wise, I'm very happy with it. Definitely recommend it. I'll put a link to this down below if you want to check it out as well. But this is one other thing I want to mention. Depending on how you are operating your lights, this install may vary a little bit as far as your wiring goes. If you're running any kind of panel, you're going to wire it up just exactly like I did in this video. If you're using any other kind of push button switch or rocker switch or anything like that, obviously your wiring is going to vary a little bit. If you have any questions on it, put it down below. Put them down below and I'll help you out the best I can. But you can see our ditch lights, where I just showed you the location that we put our red wire from the ditch lights onto the fuse panel, that slot coincides with this button. Okay, so when we push this, you'll see a little light will light up on it. But all right, so I'll give you a little look. You can see the light pods will come on. Okay, and then obviously push it, turn it off. So that's how we have ours wired up. Again, if you're going to run any kind of, you know, multiple light configuration, you know, different pods, bars, whatever the case may be, look into one of these switch panels. I do have an install video here on the channel. You know, if you're not really familiar with these things, or you're not really familiar with how to install them or wire them, I cover that in detail in a different video, but I highly recommend something like that. It is awesome when you're running all different types of pods and bars and all that good stuff. All right, let's give you a look at how bright these pods are. So here we are on a backcountry road. If you follow the channel, you know I live in the middle of nowhere. So what you're looking at right now, we're gonna give you a look at everything. What you're looking at right now is just the low beams with the fogs. And I'll show you, I'm gonna turn the lights off. You can see it's pitch black in front of us, just to give you an idea of how bright these things are. So again, here we have the low beams with the fog lights on. So we'll go ahead and turn our high beams on without the TRD light bar. Right there. Again, that's without the TRD light bar. So now we'll go ahead and turn the TRD light bar on, and watch how well this lights off to the side, you know, even without the ditch light. So here we go. That's the TRD light bar. That does an awesome job shooting off to the sides. That does help a lot living in the country. But let's go ahead and turn these LASFIT pods on and give you a look. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, this is the flood beam pattern. It's a very widespread pattern, just so you know what you're getting. It's not going to shoot far out in front of the truck, but it does a really good job at lighting up a very wide area off to the sides of the truck. All right, so let's go ahead and turn those on. And if you notice, they are crazy bright just off to the sides of the road, and I can spot deer a mile away in the woods, on the side of the road, wherever they may be. These have come in handy big time. Anybody who lives in the country, I don't know how you would not want ditch lights on your truck. They are awesome. I may at one point switch to the driving beam pattern just to see what the difference is, but I am completely satisfied with this flood beam pattern. It does an awesome job, as you can see, at just really turning night into day in front of my truck. I could see anything and everything coming a mile away. All right, so hopefully that gives you a good idea of how these things look. What I'll do, I'm gonna turn everything off right now. We'll just give you a quick look at the pod lights themselves. So there you go, pitch black. We'll turn the pod lights on. That is only the pod lights. There's no other headlight on, fog light, nothing. That's only the LASFIT pods. You can see how crazy bright they are. And again, this is the flood beam pattern. Very good for shorter distances, but a kind of a widespread area. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Links to all this stuff will be down below. Give them a look. Use our discount code. I can't say enough good things about LASFIT and the products they put out. Any questions about anything you saw in this video, put them down below. We'll get them addressed. As always, we appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one.